Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. I recognize many of your faces. Some of you were with us during our first public session a few months ago. And tonight we're going to take that process a little bit farther and delve into these issues a little bit deeper. So just to put some context in where we are, and for those of you that don't remember, the town has assembled a consulting team to help with the preparation of its new comprehensive plan. That group is assembled among the tables this evening tonight, some of the professionals from each of those organizations, and we are ably supported through this public participation process through the folks at Pace University's Land Use Law Center. So Tiffany and her colleagues have been instrumental in this public participation process. So kudos to them in this exercise of bringing everyone together. In addition, the town has appointed a series of a steering committee, 9 volunteers, many of whom are also here this evening, who are assisting in this exercise, moving this process forward. So if some of you remember, we started off a while ago asking for some general commentary about what was important in the town, what wasn't important. And what has come out of that exercise is we have been able to group our concerns into 4 basic categories. The built environment, the economic environment, the natural environment, and the social environment. And just for those of you that can't see, the built environment is basically all of the human-made elements in the town, the places where people live, work, and play. That includes land use and zoning, development, housing, transportation, and infrastructure. The economic environment, that's the economy, jobs, businesses, income, the vitality of the hamlets, and the other commercial centers in the town. The natural environment, the town's natural resources and systems, land, air, water, wildlife habitats, and ecology. And finally, the social environment, and that's the human interaction and the engagement with the community, public services, education, equity, arts, culture, and public health. So all of this exercise, this preparation of the comprehensive plan, is falling into these 4 generalized categories. From the input that we have been getting throughout the initial phase of this process, we have been able to identify a few things. So for each of those 4 categories, we have heard from you that there are some positives and there are some challenges. And we have literally dozens of these, and positives and challenges for each of those, but just some of the highlights tonight just to give you some focus. So the built environment, again, that thing where people have constructed things, roads, infrastructure, and buildings. The positives, the stability of our residential neighborhoods in town, the diversity of the land uses in town, the presence of corporate and large commercial tenants in town, accessibility to the regional highway network, and the centralized location of Mount Pleasant within the county. Those are some of the highlights of the positives of the built environment. Some of the challenges of the built environment relate to a lack of distinctive community character, and we heard that time and time again. Our central business district hamlets, which we will be focusing on tonight, are suffering in many ways. There are vacancies. There's a lack of connectivity amongst the hamlets and throughout the town. There's not enough diversity in the town's housing stock. The infrastructure is aging. And parking. We heard that many times. From this input, we have been able to develop a series of preliminary goals that will be refined as we move through the comprehensive planning process. The purpose of defining goals is to set targets, and then we will move to address these goals through very specific objectives and methods to meet these goals. So let me read to you some of the preliminary goals that have come out of this with respect to the built environment. Preserve the stability, value, the character of the town's residential neighborhoods, very important. Provide a multi-generational and economically variable housing stock that allows residents to migrate between housing types within the town as people age. Revitalize the hamlet centers and facilitate appropriately scaled, well-designed, high-quality, mixed-use infill development. That's a mouthful. Assuring that there's also an adequate supply of parking and that the infrastructure serves those facilities well. Enhance the connectivity throughout the town, particularly between the hamlet centers. Develop land use regulations that accommodate the repurposing of underperforming or underutilized office parks. Incorporate the long-range plans of the town's various institutional uses to ensure that future land use strategies account for their potential reuse. Alleviate traffic congestion. Facilitate multimodal transportation opportunities and emerging transportation technologies like alternative fuel vehicles and autonomous vehicles. And finally, ensure that the infrastructure works. With respect to the economic environment, things that people thought were important, locally owned businesses of a diverse tax base, some of our big biotech tenants like Regeneron, the Grasslands campus, which supports a lot of local business, the county's facilities, the corporate businesses along Columbus Avenue, and many of you know the Pepsi's new R&D building that's coming out of the ground just down the road, and the potential of our hamlet centers. The challenges, the changing face of retail, we're all dealing with this, the lack of character in our hamlet centers, the shortage of parking again, and that there are too many tax-exempt properties in the community. So that's what we were hearing from you folks. Some goals that have come out of that with respect to the economic environment. Enhance the economic vitality of the town through an intense focus on the success of the central business districts in the three hamlets. Again, what we'll be talking about tonight. Diversify the mix of permitted uses in those hamlet central business districts. Ensure that the office parks continue to thrive economically and potentially provide for their repurposing if they are not. Facilitate the town's role in hosting the regionally significant medical and biotech facilities. Maintain a stable tax base. The natural environment. The positives that we heard from the community are preserved open spaces in our parks. The Kensico Reservoir, the Hudson River waterfront that many people didn't really recognize as part of the town. The habitat for diverse wildlife that exists throughout the community. And importantly, the stewardship by large landowners of some of those open spaces. Challenges, lack of access to those open spaces, climate change, flooding, habitat loss, lack of local food production, and the increase of invasive and non-native plants throughout the town. That's what we heard, and that translated into a series of goals. Protect, preserve, properly manage, and enhance the quality and function of the town's natural resources. Design new development to minimize energy, water consumption, and wastewater production. Incorporate green building and sustainable design principles into all new projects. Utilize watersheds as the fundamental underlying planning areas for the town. Ensure that floodplains continue to do their jobs, an issue that's becoming obviously much more important these days. Limit the impacts of development on steep slopes, hilltops, ridge lines, wetlands, watercourses, and other sensitive environmental features. Preserve and enhance the mature tree cover and plant communities that sort of define the character of the town. Reduce the town's carbon footprint and adapt to climate change. Facilitate the use of renewables, solar, wind, geothermal, and others. Enhance and expand recycling and composting, and increase public awareness of environmental and natural resources. And finally, the social environment. Things we heard were important. It is a safe, connected, and empathetic community. A lot of community pride, excellent community services. The schools, both the public schools, the private schools, and the institutions of higher learning in the community, and the recreational programs, all were positives. Challenges, not enough facilities for young folks in the community. A lack of identity in those hamlet centers, again. Minimal support for the arts. The way parks are being used is changing, and digital lifestyles are changing the way we do just about everything. Goals for the social environment. Strive for excellence, efficiency, and cost effectiveness in town government. Support the town's emergency services. Cooperate with the school districts and the private schools to maintain the excellent level of education that's provided in the town. Provide for intuitively designed, multifunctional, and well-maintained parks and recreational facilities to meet the needs of all residents, all ages. And preserve and protect the unique character, heritage, and identity of the town for future generations. We have another slide. Combine planning with public health to incorporate a holistic approach to wellness throughout the town and in the comprehensive plan. Incorporate those changing technologies and how we interact with one another. Strive for equity in the provision of all town services. Recognize the special needs of vulnerable populations, particularly in regard to disaster planning. Reinforce the town's cultural identity, museums, libraries, music, art, and community, and improve connections throughout the town, physical, social, emotional, and perceptual. So those are sort of the big picture goals that have come out of the initial involvement through the public participation process. What we're doing tonight is turning the focus very discrete onto the Hamlet area. So if you'll notice, Tiffany will talk to you about how we're setting this up tonight, but we're focusing on Thornwood, Hawthorne, and Valhalla. So there are these large maps just to give you some perspective that you will be working on this evening. And I will turn this over to Tiffany Zazula, who will explain to you the ground rules of how we're going to make tonight work.
Thanks, Pat. And thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate anyone that will come out to a public meeting to talk about land use and zoning. I find it to be the most exciting topic in the world, but you know, not everybody. So I'm excited to have a lot of people that are interested in their community out tonight to talk about the hamlets. And tonight is about, again, us listening to all of you. And that is the most that all of us will ever say tonight was what Pat just went through. So as you can tell, we are broken out into tables. Over here to my right, we have Valhalla tables. In the middle, we have Thornwood. And at the far end, we have Hawthorne. So hopefully you're at a table that or at a hamlet that you're interested in. And if not, you're going to get up in a few minutes and you can change to a hamlet that you'd like to talk about. You're also more than welcome to actually rotate around if you'd like. If you'd like to visit the other hamlets, that's fine. But we do ask that you remain at your session as long as possible because the activity does take place all around the hamlet that you are stationed at. Because it looks like we have enough people and enough facilitators here, what I'd like to do is if you are at a table that has less than 5 people at it, to please just simply join one of the larger tables this evening, and then some of our facilitators will actually be more timekeepers and assist this evening. Tonight, we are going to be looking at, as Pat said, more specifically, we're going to be drilling down at these hamlets. We want to know what areas in the hamlet are strong areas. What are the places that are attractive in that hamlet? Why are they desirable to visit? What's unique in that hamlet we're going to be talking about? And what conditions in that hamlet would you like to see more of? And then, of course, we're going to go talking about what's weak in those hamlets most specifically. So what are the eyesores that are in that hamlet? What are the undesirable places to visit? And why, and then what, how, or do they reflect poorly on our community? So we're going to be talking specifically about those 2 things, and then you're going to have an opportunity to strategize about what you'd like to see more of in the hamlet. You're going to get creative and be open-minded, and we'll give you a piece of paper, and you're going to jot down notes for us, and we're going to collect all those. And tonight, at the end of all of this, as timekeeper, when I finally get back to this mic and call time, we're going to have all the hamlets give just a short, very short presentation about what they found. Do we have similarities between the 2 Thornwood or Hawthorne groups, right? And we'll have then the Hawthorne and Thornwood be able to hear from Valhalla and vice versa. So at the end of tonight, that's what we'll do. We'll share. It won't be long, I promise, but it'll be informative so we can see if we all found some similarities, differences, and so on and so forth. So on that note, again, if you are at a table that's less than 5 people, come join one of the stations in front of you. And on that note, our facilitators can get started with their individual groups, okay? Okay, we're going to get started. And it's okay if your group is sort of still getting your comments up. I know a couple of groups just wanted to put their final thoughts on. That's okay. But I would like to now have each group maybe just present to the everyone else what they thought were some of the opportunities and possibly challenges in each of their sections. So I'm going to start actually at this back table here, Tom and Carlene. If you guys, I don't know if who's been nominated to come up, and if you need to bring your flip charts with you, or if you and one of your participants. I didn't mean to call upon you like that, but.
Yes. All right, we were the Valhalla group. We had several residents from Valhalla, and they shared some great comments on the pros and cons of the downtown Valhalla area, starting with strong places, Kensico Dam, the Village Creamery, that there's access to a post office. There's the train station, Holy Name Church, there's Esposito's, and there's walkability, and there's good access there. On the weak places, inconvenient routes to the train. Some of the residents close to town have difficulty coming down the town, safely crossing the Bronx River Parkway. So we discussed various ways to possibly correct that. Difficulty crossing at the dam. The dam across the road across the dam has been closed. Some would like to see that opened, and the firehouse traffic light can be a dangerous intersection. Rush hour traffic with the fire engines and rescue people trying to leave that facility. There's also a serious retaining wall going up the hill from downtown that has its rather crumbling, and it's a real safety hazard. For opportunities, we talked about a path from the Dam Plaza to the town center, better safety for pedestrians, room for more restaurants to create a real downtown flavor with a restaurant feel. Stairwell to Legion Drive to the train station, a kind of a creative way to let residents from the other side of the town to get to the train station without having to cross the Bronx River Parkway. Fix that retaining wall, and again, the train station, and forget that last one, the potholes.
Yeah, the potholes.
Potholes?
Potholes.
We don't have any potholes. So that is Valhalla number 2.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so in comparison, let's just talk about Valhalla, the first group, Valhalla 1.
Valhalla Group 1 was much more encouraged, I guess, by the recreational and historic opportunities that are offered in the hamlet, the dam plaza, and the War Memorial area were all heavily favored, although there was also a couple of votes for the ice cream parlor. So we were in favor of that as well. Not surprisingly, the weak points were pretty much the same as has just been announced, just been listed. Specific streets, but also the idea of the bridge needs reconstruction by Birch Brook, and then potholes, yes, potholes. Westlake Drive, Birch Brook again, and then also the access to and from the parking lot, that it all has to go through the one location. There was some suggestion that perhaps an additional access point directly onto the Bronx River Parkway, to and from the Bronx River Parkway, might be a good thing. For the third issue, the opportunities for the village, housing, provide more housing, perhaps by getting changing some of the vacant commercial space into housing, if that's at all possible, through both physically in terms of the building and also zoning. Better coordination of the facilities, making them all work a little better, everything from train schedules to signal timing and the like, to provide more opportunities to walk through the CBD area, and also just to keep the flavor of Valhalla, as Valhalla, a small town, small hamlet, small village. That's pretty much it.
All right, I'm going to turn it to Pat, who I think is Thornwood 1? Thornwood 1. Okay.
Our spokeswoman just chickened out. She's claiming she has a sore throat. So I'll pitch in. So we're Thornwood. Strengths were the four corners, the area of the old former train station where across the street is the firehouse and the post office. That was sort of a core and a node. The ShopRite Center, the shopping center, and the ball field, all strong areas. Our weaknesses were flooding in some of those very same areas, traffic, trash and unkempt properties, tired-looking buildings on Franklin, and the ShopRite parking lot is a difficult area to maneuver through. And our opportunities or ideas, a need for family-oriented businesses, particularly eateries at the four corners, theme restaurants. We need sidewalks, and we need them desperately in a long area like Thornwood. Fix the Sawmill River Parkway entrance. The idea of creating a public focal point or commons or an open space for gatherings. To identify opportunities to maneuver along the corridor in non-traditional ways by bikes or electric vehicles of some sort other than using individual passenger vehicles, and create connective bikeways, pathways, and trailways throughout the hamlet. Valhalla 1. Thornwood 1.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay. We are Thornwood 2. We have a lot of similarities with Thornwood 1. The strong places that we identified were the town center, where ShopRite is. There's a lot of stores, shopping. It's very clean. It's conveniently located. It's convenient to walk through the area to get from one store to another. There's very few vacancies in the stores that are there, and there's a good variety of stores available. We also identified the Barley House and the new yoga studio. That's a great place for people to gather. It's very family friendly. The food is good. The architecture is nice. It's visually appealing, and it's very community oriented. And the third zone was the soccer field, the Water District Park. It's one of the few green spaces that was in the area that we were talking about. There's a lot of mixed use spaces there. There's like a Legionnaires community center. They have ceremonies. There's a ball field. There's a soccer field. So we thought that was really positive. So for our negatives, we said pretty much all of Commerce Street. We specifically focused on one area by the cigarette shop that's right across from the Barley House. It's really an eyesore. It's very run down. It just gives the whole town a feel of being unsafe and unkempt. And that whole theme continues down Commerce Street. It's not safe to walk on. It's run down. It's dirty. There's nothing appealing to get people to come to that area of town. And then if you continue down Commerce Street, you get to Franklin Street where it separates, and it's just more of the same. Rundown buildings, a building that burned down that hasn't been repaired or fixed up. Very few places that people would actually want to visit. There's no safe place to cross the street. There's very limited parking, which in turn affects the business owners there because nobody can park to go into their stores. And there's just no downtown feel at all. And then the third section was the Four Corners intersection. It's dangerous. The traffic pattern doesn't work. There's a lot of backed up traffic, particularly during rush hour, which then leads to cars being diverted through the neighborhoods like Sherman Avenue, Warren Avenue, Linda Avenue, and that makes it unsafe for the residents who live on those streets because people are driving down them unsafely. And the restaurant on the corner there looks kind of run down. The gas stations are a little bit shady. We've heard some bad business practices there. And then the turning from Franklin Avenue to Kensico Road, when you're trying to make a left-hand turn, it's a road for 2 cars, and it's really only designed to fit 1 car. So you have people beeping and honking and getting aggressive, and it's not a safe intersection. Our opportunities for a better hamlet include planning for senior housing so that seniors who want to stay within the community have a place to actually move to and free up their houses for people who are looking to upsize. A better selection of retail restaurants and stores along Commerce Street and Franklin Avenue. We also said desperately need sidewalks all the way from Franklin down to the train station to make it safe and walkable. A state-of-the-art green space that's flood-proof and available for multi-purpose uses, festivals, sporting events, etc. More pedestrian-friendly retail areas and stores that people actually want to go to and visit. And then our most innovative idea was to create a TOD, which is a transit-oriented development around the old Thornwood train station to encourage more development there and multi-use residential commercial space. Thank you.
Great work, everyone. Thank you. Good. Okay, so our last hamlet, we're going to do Hawthorne 2. There was no Hawthorne 1, so Hawthorne 2. If you'd like to present, and then Hawthorne 3 we're going to do.
All right, we're going to talk about Hawthorne a little bit over here, and I think that Hawthorne 1 overlapped a lot with what we talked about with strong places and weak places. So one place we both agreed on was Broadway Field. It's kid-friendly. There's a lot of activities there, and it's away, and it's in a corner, safe from traffic. It's well-maintained, and it's a nice community gathering place, and it's well-lit. We also talked about the Triangle at Broadway and 141. It's very aesthetically pleasing, well-maintained. And it's nice to visit. And we also talked about Burger Hardware being a nice little business in town over there. Again, well maintained. One participant said you can't live without it. But it's a business that cares about the community, and it also has adequate and attractive parking for its constituents and people that go there. Some of the weaknesses. There's that strip across from the Hawthorne train station, which is barren and undeveloped. It's underutilized, it's a dirty lot, and it's an eyesore. That area in and of itself is not pedestrian friendly, as the Thornwood people mentioned, because it's just a continuum on that whole road from Burgers all the way to the Four Corners. Again, so north of Burgers, again, it's ugly and unattractive, it's run down. There's a lot of unkept land there in regards to some of the MTA stuff that's there from the train. They just leave their debris on the side, and it's not aesthetically pleasing. There's a lack of connectivity all over the place, and certainly, once again, not pedestrian friendly. Yeah, and again, I said all the rest of that stuff, pretty much all the way down to the Four Corners. So some opportunities we mentioned is that we thought we'd like to see some unified storefront aesthetics or some standards. You know, if you walk up and down there, you want to see that the buildings, not that they look exactly the same, but you don't have that hodgepodge of different storefronts over there. You can see, oh, I'm in Mount Pleasant because all the stores look like this here. We thought maybe we should convert the Bel Paese area into a park or some community space. We need, again, new, relevant, and attractive retail stores. Utilize the Triangle for a farmer's market or community events. Convert vacant land to perhaps a retail nursery. We need to also facilitate mixed-use residential retail development across from the train station. I think we mentioned that over here as well. From the Triangle to the train station on the west side should be raised and redeveloped into retail residential with parking, garage below, perhaps. And, you know, again, improve sidewalks and streetscapes in the business district, and there needs to be some kind of curbside appeal, perhaps some regulated community standards from all the different, what the businesses look like. Thanks.
Hi, we're here to echo many of the great aspects of our community, as well as some of the parts of our community that we just feel like need a little bit more of an improvement. So speaking from our strengths, we actually had the section of Hawthorne very similar, from Liberty Street all the way down through Broadway Field over towards 9A. So we thought a strength is A&B Auto, which is on Commerce. Burger Hardware, again, we thought was great because they are aesthetically pleasing. They are family owned. They give back to the community. We thought that was wonderful. We thought Broadway Field was a great green space, activities for kids. There's now a playground there for younger children. There's a snack stand there. We get a lot of compliments whenever there are visiting teams at Broadway and volunteer. It's a great part of our community. We thought the train station is a strong asset. There's free parking on the weekends and after 5. We like the deli that's right there, the Hawthorne Deli, or the Station Deli. There's the car show on Mount Pleasant Day, and of course there's the clock. So places where we felt that we could use some improvement. Echoing again the sentiments of our counterparts from Hawthorne. The strip across from Burgers, we feel that it's run down. There are parking problems. The sidewalks are either neglected, poor condition, or there's the lack of sidewalks. We thought that the exterior of some of the businesses there could use some updating. And we are concerned about the empty lots that are found throughout that entire strip. We also thought that the entire Route 141 corridor needs run down, it needs refurbishment. There aren't any crosswalks, which makes things very difficult for pedestrians to cross safely. There's a boarding house, rooms for rent, next to the train station. And we also felt that there's some safety concerns at the train station. Oh, inadequate parking for non-commuters during the daytime. We thought that could be improved as well. We felt that some opportunities for improvement could be some plantings around that entire area, that strip of Hawthorne. Again, to improve the exterior appearance of some of our storefronts, possibly a new streetscape, revitalize the entire area across from the train station, sidewalks from Hawthorne to Thornwood continuously without breaking, without all those choppy parts to it. We also thought that making sure that there is uniform enforcement of all of the building codes throughout all of Hawthorne and throughout all of Mount Pleasant. That way it's the responsibility of the landlords and the store owners is uniform throughout, where there's no favoritism, where everyone is equal and there's fairness. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for participating this evening. We even ended 15 minutes early, shocking. Round of applause for that. What we're going to do is this. I will take all of these notes. I'm going to put them all together, type them all up, so that all essentially the Thornwoods and Hawthorns and all those notes will be put together per Hamlet. And those will be put up online on the town's website, and I will email it to all of you and all the people that have participated even in workshop number 1. So that's why you did the sign-in sheet. If for some reason you don't get any communication from me, it means maybe I couldn't read your handwriting for those emails. So you can always reach out to the town. Again, it'll be put up on the website. And if you're having trouble, which I just found out this evening, if there's any trouble with people when you're clicking on the documents, we're going to change the font. So the font type will be different so that everyone can read it and get access to it. I think there was potentially some trouble with that. So it will be fixed. It will be up online, both notes from session 1 and this session. And then we'll be in touch with next meeting dates. And again, we thank you for this time together and for all your comments and input. Very helpful. So thank you.